The war really changed the entire basis for resolving the conflict between Arabs and Israelis. The most significant change was introducing essentially new terms of reference, a new basis for peace between Israelis and Palestinians based on UN Security Council Resolution 242, which embodied the principle of Israeli withdrawal from occupied Arab lands in return for peace and recognition from Arab states toward Israel. The problem, of course, is that it doesn't deal with the Palestinians directly since they're not a state. They're not a state actor. And so Palestinians, that and the omission of any reference to Palestinian self-determination were the main reasons why the PLO rejected consistently Resolution 242. And it took 2 decades before the PLO finally came around in 1988 to accepting Resolution 242. And it took another 12 years after that for the United States to accept an interpretation of 242 that included Palestinian statehood. That's essentially where we are. Since 2000, we've been in a state of diplomatic paralysis. There is Palestinian acceptance of recognition of Israel and a recognition of the Land for Peace formula. You have Israel also ostensibly accepting the formula of the Palestinian state. And yet we've had no progress. We've had a number of negotiation attempts at Camp David in 2000, the Annapolis talks in 2007, and most recently the Kerry talks under President Obama in 2013 and 14. There are a number of reasons why all of these past negotiation efforts have failed. They have to do with the substance of the agreements, they have to do with the lack of trust between the parties. But one of the reasons that is not often talked about is the erosion of these terms of reference that were established in 1967, the Land for Peace formula in particular. One of the reasons that the Kerry talks, for example, didn't succeed was that there was an attempt, or at least many viewed those negotiations as an attempt to rewrite the terms of reference, to change the rules of the game from Land for Peace to something else, to some new framework that would be agreed between the parties and brokered by Secretary Kerry. It's one of the reasons that the Palestinian leadership couldn't accept. They felt that eroding the Land for Peace formula, Resolution 242, would be a strategic error that they could not ever overcome if they were to agree. And there is also, I think, a different erosion happening in the general discourse around the conflict. We see, for example, a number of members of Congress and pundits and others questioning whether, in fact, there even is an occupation. And that, of course, if there's no occupation, then there is no trigger for Resolution 242. Israel is not an occupier that is required to relinquish land in order to gain peace and recognition, but this, in fact, is already Israeli land. And so the discourse itself has eroded the very existence of the occupation